Canada is absolutely furious at the United States. It's striking back and saying, bye-bye, don't let the door hit you on the way back. Canada's taking very tangible steps this week to further strengthen its position against the United States. Number one, going to this ASEAN conference, meeting with China directly, trying to improve diplomatic and trade relations with China. It's doing the same with India. Also, Canada, the province of Ontario, purchased a $75 million ad buy across the United States with a Ronald Reagan narration on the ad telling Americans how Donald Trump's tariffs are absolutely destroying the American economy. That was the idea of Doug Ford. And while politically I disagree with Doug Ford on a lot of issues, when it comes to him standing up to Donald Trump and doing things like that, I applaud him for showing force and strength against Donald Trump. So let me show you what's been going down. First, just even look how it's being talked about in the Foreign Policy magazine. Canada shows how you neutralize Trump's trade attacks. Ottawa's latest reforms are a blueprint for Washington's victims around the world. So Canada not only led the international boycott against American products and goods and services, Canada not only led the tourism boycott against the United States, which spread like wildfire internationally, Canada also showed how you restructure your security arrangements in a changing world order where America's no longer going to be the dominant power. And this foreign policy piece cites a very significant speech that Prime Minister Carney gave at the Council on Foreign Relations on September 22nd, where he talked about how there is an end of the rules-based global order before our eyes as Trump is making the United States weaker and Canada needs to adapt, to turn to Europe, to turn to Australia, to turn to others, and to change its diplomatic posture across the world. I'm going to show you in a moment this incredible ad that's being run across the United States that Canada purchased for $75 million. But first, this was Prime Minister Carney yesterday. He was, of course, very happy that the Toronto Blue Jays will be in the World Series against my Los Angeles Dodgers. Sorry to all of the Maple Midas out there. I gotta be honest. I live in LA, so I won't tell you who I'm rooting for, but I live in LA. Here's Prime Minister Carney, though, talking about the meeting at the ASEAN meeting that he will be attending, and also how, Canada's not sweating, any of the moves the United States is making. Canada's going to control what it's going to control. It has agency over its future and destiny, and Prime Minister Carney makes that point right here. Let's play it.
Can we expect a clutch move with APEC?
Sorry, I'm sorry?
We're talking about clutch. We know you've been working on it. Let's talk seventh inning stretch. Can we expect something in regards to sectoral tariffs?
That was just a brilliant segue there, Judy. Very good. We'll see. We're ongoing discussions with the Americans, and I wouldn't overplay it. I'm looking forward to seeing the president at APEC in Korea. But we're going to be seeing lots of other countries, and one of our core elements of our strategy is diversifying trade. That's why we're going to Asia. You saw the Indonesian trade deal. We're in talks with ASEAN, which is the group of countries that I'm meeting with in Kuala Lumpur, and then more broadly at APEC, including with China.
Next, you have the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. He gives this speech at the Empire Club right here, and he talks about the ad buy that Ontario made, $75 million, and they are blasting these ads all across the United States. Here, play this clip.
And let's blast it to the American people. And our first launch is going to be on every major network. Maybe one may not get it, and we'll talk about that at a later date. No, it's actually CNN, to be honest with you. They're a little nervous, but Fox and other people, but we're going to launch a $75 million ad, and we're going to repeat that message to every Republican district there is right across the entire country. And we're just gonna speak the truth. But that ad, it's not a nasty ad. It's actually just very factual, and coming from a person like Ronald Reagan, every Republican is going to identify that voice. Maybe the younger Republicans can't remember, but he was just the best president the country's ever seen.
So one of the brilliant things that Premier Doug Ford did is he made sure that ad, which talked about how devastating the tariffs are to the American people, that the ad was run during the American League Championship game where the Toronto Blue Jays defeated the Mariners. And so Donald Trump saw the ad, because the ad ran during that American League Championship Series victory by the Toronto Blue Jays, and Trump commented on it. This is what Trump said. Here, play this clip.
We're the most successful. We're believers in tariffs. And I even see foreign countries now that we are doing very well with taking ads. Don't go with tariffs. They're taking ads. I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also. But they're actually on television taking ads. But I do believe that everybody's too smart for that. We have a very, very big and important case coming up. We should win the case based on the legal merit. We should also win the case based on all of the things I just.
Now, let me just share with you the ad so you can see for yourself Ronald Reagan's narration. Here, play it right here.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
The Toronto Star writes, Ontario's anti-tariff ad has caught Donald Trump's attention. Trump said he saw the commercial, which aired during the Fox broadcast of the Toronto Blue Jays American League Championship Series victory over the Seattle Mariners on Monday night. Going to the speech that Prime Minister Carney gave recently as well. Here he talks about, there are just areas now with the United States that you just can't trust anymore. And so he approaches the relationship with China the same way he now approaches the relationship with the United States in a way. Well, he goes, actually, I don't view the U.S. with any preferential treatment. And he goes, I'm going to go out there, we're going to have our foreign ministers go out there, speak to Xi Jinping, speak to our counterparts there, and we're going to develop very specific, very particular relations with China. Here, play this clip.
We get a lesson from the trade actions of the United States over the last this year, trade actions such as the canola tariffs that you just referenced, of the danger of overdependence on single trade partners, first point. The second is that in those contexts, we have to look for alignment of incentives and interests as much as possible. That's where it's possible and responsible and fair to workers and fair to our future to have deeper relationships. And that's part of what we're doing with the United States, is Canada determining where can we trust the United States through ups and downs, and in what areas can we do that, and where should we have that exposure. It's a similar process with China. We are restarting broad engagement with China. I'll make a point. I met the Prime Minister, the Premier of China, a few weeks ago. That was the first meeting between the head of the Canadian government and a senior, either the Premier or the President, in 7 years of China. This is our second largest trading partner. And so when you have that, and there's reasons for that, but when you have that situation, you end up with these dependencies and these exposures. So to get back to the first part of your question, we have a broader trading relationship with China. There are different levers that we have, or opportunities that we have for China in Canada. We are in the process of having those discussions on a much broader range of issues than single sectors and single trades. And when we look at the auto sector, we take into account the dynamics with the United States, the ongoing negotiations there, and what the potential impact is. So, last point. I met the Chinese Prime Minister, a few weeks ago. Our foreign minister, Minister Anand, is arriving in Beijing basically as we speak, and we'll be meeting with her counterparts. And I expect to meet the senior Chinese leadership in the coming month or so, and we'll continue those discussions, and we'll see where the trade relationship evolves. Thank you.
Now, I think this is really important for me to bring this up. The Medicare annual enrollment period is here. This is the time to compare your options. If you don't, your costs could go up, your coverage could change, or your plan could disappear entirely. So listen up. That's why I recommend you reach out to our partners, Chapter. They're the only advisors who look at every single plan in the country and provide honest advice to Americans on Medicare. It's why we work with them at the MeidasTouch Network. In under 20 minutes, they can see if you're already on the best plan for your needs. If you are, they'll tell you. If not, they'll help you switch for free. They've already helped many members of the MeidasTouch community, and they can help you too. Don't get duped by brokers who are pushing the plans that pay them the biggest kickbacks. And don't wait until December to figure out your plan for next year. Call Chapter today at 82 Medicare. That's 82 Medicare, and get honest advice today. Give them a call and let me know how it goes in the comments below. I know the Meidas Mighty have been very happy with the results. Now, going back to Doug Ford's speech at the Empire Club, he talked about the elephant in the room, a powerful moment of that speech. Play the clip.
We're here today to talk about Ontario's economy. We can't do so without acknowledging the elephant in the room. President Trump continues to take direct aim at Canada. Well, he's going to really go after us now. I'm reading my speech. I just called him an elephant. But anyways, can't call that guy any name. Anyways, he's added and expanded tariffs on Canadian steel, autos, aluminum, lumber, and copper, just to name a few. He went off kilter and started to go after cabinet makers and so on and so forth. By every measure, he seems intent on putting tariffs on pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, heavy trucks, film industry, and critical minerals. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. A tariff on Canada is nothing more than a tax on Americans. And I tell that to my American friends. I talk to the governors, senators, and congressmen and women every single day. Ironically, even Republicans, they don't agree with that. They don't agree with President Trump's attack on his closest allies and friends. But unfortunately, they're too scared, to the exception of a few senators, too scared to say anything. Yale University has put out the cost of tariffs at about $2,400 for every American household and expects the American economy to shed nearly 500,000 jobs by the end of 2025. We're already seeing the impact. American manufacturing employment has declined for 5 months in a row, with 78,000 fewer manufacturing jobs in the U.S. today than a year ago. And folks, I'm a big Ronald Reagan fan.
And here's another part of Ford's speech. Let's play that clip.
The Center for Automotive Research in the U.S. says that President Trump's tariffs on autos will raise the costs for American automakers by nearly $108 billion US in 2025. These kinds of enormous costs on businesses result in two outcomes: higher prices for American consumers and fewer jobs for American workers, and inflation on the backs of American workers. Personally, if it were me, these aren't the kind of numbers I'd want to bring into the midterms. But there's good news for President Trump.
Show you over here Anita Anand, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Canada. She writes, she wrote this yesterday. Canada's foreign policy is pragmatic and intentional. grounded in the principle that our diplomatic efforts must serve the interest of Canadians. Make no mistake, when engaging with any foreign country, the safety and security of Canadians always remains our top priority. Here, play this clip.
I know there's a new foreign policy under Prime Minister Carney than under the previous Prime Minister, and more focused on the real politics, the need to have a relationship with the two largest countries on earth. But there is some concern that big diplomatic issues are getting kind of pushed aside with that. I mean, what do you respond to people worried about just the nature of China and the relationship with India as well?
Well, if I could just address the first part of your question about our foreign policy, it's pragmatic, it's intentional, and it is based on ensuring that our diplomatic efforts abroad serve the domestic population here in our country. And so when we think about India and China and other relationships, we have to remember that it is necessary to raise issues of concern to the Canadian population. At the same time, we need to be pragmatic about our economic needs.
Right.
The relationships are complex. They shouldn't be grouped together, but make no mistake, we will not leave Canadian interests, such as public safety, such as foreign interference, unaddressed. We will make sure we have a process and a path to address those issues. At the same time, we will ensure that we are servicing the interests of the Canadian population writ large, especially in this time of economic stress.
And this is what CTV is reporting about that meeting between Canadian officials and Chinese officials and the potential for Canada to drop its EV tariffs against China. In response, Canada will drop its tariffs against Canada. And I just think it's an important thing because Canada, a lot of the reasons they had these EV tariffs is because it was part of the United States Canadian-Mexican agreement, the USMCA, which is now under review. So I think Canada was showing this blind loyalty to the United States because of the history, World War I, World War II, the historical bonds, being neighbors, of course. And now it's like, why wouldn't we want to bring in cheaper Chinese, better EVs? Like, why are we doing this? The U.S. is attacking our sovereignty. Why would we be blocking great EVs from China? I mean, you've seen the EVs from China, incredible. Here, play this clip.
If in fact we do remove those tariffs on Chinese-made EVs, the ambassador from China told me explicitly China will remove their tariffs in a commensurate fashion. Have a listen to it.
So if Canada removes the unilateral unjustified tariffs on Chinese products, China will also reciprocate accordingly. And if the EV tariffs are removed, then China will also remove the tariffs on the relevant products of Canada.
I also had the chance to talk to the ambassador about the possibility of more Canadian oil and gas going to China. TMX, for example, LNG projects in BC, all of that is aimed at diversifying our markets away from the United States and sending more oil and gas to China. The question is, though, if, for example, we were to double that and have another pipeline that goes out west, is there enough demand in China to take all that extra oil? The ambassador seemed to indicate that there is.
And then, of course, we're feeling the impacts here in the United States. This is the governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro, talking about by slapping Canada with these tariffs and hurting Canada, Pennsylvania suffering, he says. Here, play this clip.
What is not helpful is the bullying. What is not helpful is failing to remember our shared history and the way we are intertwined. What is not helpful is the way in which the president has demeaned our neighbors in the North, suggesting that they should be the 51st state. I respect Canadian sovereignty, and I hope that tomorrow when this meeting occurs in the White House, respect will rule the day, that we will hammer out a trade agreement that works for both sides, and that Pennsylvanians can continue to work with our partners in the North to grow our economy, to protect our farmers, to expand our manufacturing base. The final thing I'll say is this: slapping a tariff on Canada, even for Pennsylvania companies that are based in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that source their raw materials in Pennsylvania, that don't rely on raw materials from Canada. The prices for those companies are going up. The capital needed to be able to expand is staying in the private sector's pocket, meaning they are not investing the kind of capital that is needed to grow and expand right now. And so by the president pushing the tariff button, he's not only alienating one of our most important global allies, he's driving up the cost for Pennsylvania farmers, driving up the cost for Pennsylvania small businesses, driving up the cost for Pennsylvania manufacturers, even those who are doing it in the president's mind the right way, note the air quotes here, by doing it based in America, sourced with American products, sourced with American raw material, with American workers. We're still seeing prices go way up because the president decided to push the tariff button and drive up costs on the American people. It is dangerous, the rhetoric he's engaged in, and his practices are making things cost more. And it is not in America's long-term interest, I believe, to have this fight with Canada. It will make things cost more and will undermine our unique relationship.
So we'll keep you posted every step of the way, of course, here at the MeidasTouch Network. But powerful moves, I think, being made. And that $75 million ad buy, those ads are getting everywhere here in the United States. And people in the U.S. hate the tariff. I mean, other than Trump and some of his MAGA sycophants, people hate these tariffs. Inflation's surging here. It's the biggest tax. It's a $3 trillion, $4 trillion tax on American businesses, which they pass on to consumers. It's a disaster. While the government shut down and Trump's demolishing the East Wing of the White House. Could you just imagine the guy's bulldozing the White House right now while all of this is going on? He's bulldozing down the White House. I don't even know what to say about that. We hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching. Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.